Hello, welcome back to break. I'm so sorry everything took so long. But we should be back now. VTube Studio decided to kind of get rid of my model for a minute. But she's back. And so are her froggy buddies because we're doing fairy tales. It's not scary. They like to joke. So we have some frogs. Alright. Yeah, okay. Boop. There we are. Easy. We got your frogs. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. So we're doing fairy tales again tonight. I'm sorry, Fetster. I meant to say I'm sorry you have tech issues right now. That sucks. The blue screen. Blue screen of death. Oh. Froggo, Master Justice. Thank you for coming in. Hello, Brian. I'm good. How are you today? I'm just, like I said, the tech issues. So now we're sorted. It's all good. But alright. So I have the first story prepped. And, oh, that's good. And I will be reading other stories. If we have Natsu come in, they had wanted a story to be read, and I have that now. But otherwise, we have more stories from the Red Fairy book. Last night, there was one that I was like, hey, when I click to read this story, a different one pops up. Same site. If I go to it on my phone, it goes to the right story. So we'll read that one today. But I wanted to start with a shorter one first. Yes, Vi too. If you're in my stream, you should probably also know about Vi. If you're in Vi's stream and you don't know about me, that's probably fair. She's got a lot more people. But okay. Alright, so the first story. Oh, good, it's back up. I'm glad to see that. The first story, if we can get things started to get moving, is called Drakestail. So that's the first one we'll be reading. Boop. Hi, Braddy. Hello, welcome in. I don't have her emotes anymore, so I can't bongo mouse back this time. Oh no! You don't have no emotes. We have a bongo frog here. But yes. I almost offended you. Didn't recognize me soon. See, I'm just on time. You did perfect. Raven, you're wonderful. Plus, you're worthy of all the nice things that come your way in life. Thank you, Brian. That was very nice. Bongo frog. Yes, bongo frog, to be precise. Bongo. Okay, we have our first story to read. Drakestail. So, we'll get to that. Here we go. I'm glad you like Mask. Alright. Here we go. Ooh. Drakestail was very little. That is why he was called Drakestail. Am I supposed to know what that's supposed to mean immediately? But okay. But tiny as he was, he had brains, and he knew that he was about what he was about. For having begun with nothing, he ended by amassing 100 crowns. So when he dies, he has 100 crowns? Interesting. Okay. Now, the king of the country, who was very extravagant and never kept any money, having heard that Drakestail had some, went one way in his own person to borrow his hoard. And, my word, in those days Drakestail was not a little proud of having lent money to the king. Which is to say that he's a lot proud, usually. Okay. So, he's got brains, and when they say ended, they mean he now has 100 crowns. And based on the way this wording is going, yes, when it says He's not a little proud. It means he's very proud. Okay. But after the first and second year, seeing that they never even dreamed of paying the interest, he became uneasy, so much so that at last he resolved to go and see his majesty himself and get repaid. All right, so the little Drakestail is going and he's demanding his money back. So one fine morning, very spruce and fresh, takes the One fine morning, Drakestail, very spruce and fresh, takes the road, singing, "Quack, quack, quack, when shall I get my money back?" He had not gone far when he met his friend Fox on his rounds that way. It doesn't say his friend, it just says friend Fox. "Good morning, neighbor," says the friend. "Where are you off to so early?" "I'm going to the king for what he owes me." "Oh, take me with thee." Drakestail said to himself, "One can't have too many friends." "I will," says he, "but going on all fours, you will soon be tired. Make yourself quite small, get into my throat, go into my gizzard, and I will carry you." Friend Fox, because Fox is everyone's friend. Fred? Quack, you say? LaHonk, I don't think I have said quack yet. But I will. I think you're reading ahead. I will carry you. Happy thought, says friend Fox, which I'm a little confused. How are you getting... What? What? Anyway, he takes bag and baggage, and presto, is gone like a letter into the post. Intriguing. And Drakestail is off again, all spruce and fresh, still singing. Oh, no, now I see. Yes, I did say quack, quack, quack. When shall I get my money back? They're just about to say it some more. Ooh, thank you. Welcome and thank you for the follow. I'm T-Wopey. I'm Twopey. I don't know what it is. Okay. But, so, yes, he takes bag and baggage. So is that his baggage? Is it Fox's baggage? Whatever. And is gone like a letter into the post. Okay. Fox is in his throat, in his gizzard, I guess. In his gizzard, whatever. I'm 2-pie. Oh. Thank you, Fetster. I don't know how to read sometimes. I'm 2-pie. Brady says it's emotional baggage. Okay. But just silly. So, and Drakestail is off again. All spruce and fresh, still singing, quack, 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 when shall I have my money back? He had not gone far when he met his lady friend, Ladder, leaning on her wall. Why do we have to specify lady? And does that mean like a special kind of friend? Or like the lady friend? Oh, okay, so Drakestail is a duckling, apparently. And LaHonk, very fitting to have the murder duck, because then the Ladder says, "Good morning, my duckling." We do properly say that this is a duck. The quacks make sense. And "Good morning, my duckling," says the lady friend. "Whither away so bold?" "I'm going to the king for what he owes me." "Oh, take me with thee." Drakestail said to himself, "One can't have too many friends." "I will," says he, "but with your wooden legs you will soon be tired. Make yourself quite small, get into my throat, go into my gizzard, and I will carry you." How are you carrying everybody in your throat, dude? "Happy thought," says my friend Ladder. Oh, now she's not lady friend, she's my friend. Okay. Let's not spell his lady friend, and then yeah, she's described as his lady friend, the lady friend, and then my friend. Weirdness. Um, Happy Thought says my friend Ladder, and Nimble Bag and Baggage goes to keep company with friend Fox. And quack, 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 Drakestail is off again, singing and spruce as before. A little farther he meets his sweetheart. You have a lady friend and you have a sweetheart? He meets his sweetheart, my friend River, wandering quietly in the sunshine. Thou, my cherub, says she, whither so lonesome with arching tail and on this muddy road? I'm going to the king, you know, for what he owes me. Oh, take me with thee. Drakestail said to himself, we can't have too many friends. We can't have too many friends. Okay. I will, says he. But you who sleep while you walk will soon be tired. Make yourself quite small, get into my throat, go into my guzzard, and I will carry you. Ah, happy thought, says my friend River. She takes bag and baggage, and glow, glow, glow. She takes her place between friend Fox and my friend Ladder. Hey, we dropped the lady there. This story, if you're lost, it's just this weird duck that had lent the king money, going off and running into his friends as he walks every few little bit, saying he's going to go ask the king back for the money, but every friend of his is going to want to come along, but they have to get into his throat because they'll get too tired. But the inconsistent, references to them is kind of very silly, and I definitely don't follow the taking bag and baggage, and then they add something else in, and it's so weird. Does he have any lemonade? What about grapes? Anyway, it's just odd. Okay. Yes, Locke. Does he have grapes? Okay. So, alright, the river goes glow, glow, glow between friend Fox and my friend Ladder. Yes, kind of like that. The hydrate emote. And quack, 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 Drakestail is off again, singing. A little farther on, he meets Comrade Wasp's Nest, maneuvering his wasps. So it's the comrade is not the wasps. The comrade is the nest. And okay, we went from friend, not my friend, not his friend, friend, to his lady friend slash lady friend slash my friend, and then sweetheart, my friend, River, and then now we have comrade, wasp. But I'm just interesting choices. Okay. Maneuvering his wasps. Well, good morning, friend Drakestail, said Comrade Wasp's Nest. Where are we bound for so spruce and fresh? Yeah, all the pronouns are very inconsistent. I am going to the king for what he owes me. Oh, take me with thee. Drakestail said to himself, one can't have too many friends. I will, says he, but with your battalion to drag along, you will soon be tired. Make yourself quite small. Go into my throat, get into my guzzard, and I will carry you. Next is going to be a brethren. I'm worried, are you bringing all of the frickin' wasps too then in your throat? But okay. By Jove, that's a good idea. I think that I isn't really supposed to be there. I think it's supposed to just say, by Jove, that's a good idea, says Comrade Wasp's Nest. And left file. What? Left file! Exclamation point. Left file. He takes the same road to join the others with all his party. So I guess, yes, all of the wasps as well. There was not much more room, but by closing up a bit they managed, and Drakestail is off again singing. Just like me, for real, inconsistent pronouns. To be fair, I'm very much here for the inconsistent pronouns. It's just that in this story, it's not just like what someone identifies as. This is like, wait, who are we talking about now? Whose point of view are we using this? Is this what? But okay. So then, and a little bit I versus we. That one is maybe more concerning to be mixing up. Okay, so Wasp's Well, Drakestail is off again singing. I know, I just thought it was funny. For sure. He arrived thus at the capital and threaded his way straight up the high street, still running and singing, "Quack, quack, quack, when shall I get my money back?" To the great astonishment of the good folks, till he came to the king's palace. Their hive mind, the duck is eating them. Fair, true. But it's just like they had the like, one can't have too many friends was what he was saying kind of consistently, and then suddenly just for one of them he says, "We can't have too many friends." And it's like, is this supposed to be changing as you go along, or is it just that you messed up the once? But okay. Yes, we've made it to the kingdom. Makes it to the king's palace. He strikes with a knocker. Tock, tock. "Who is there?" asks the porter, putting his head out of the wicket. It's turning communist. Really did. It went from one to we and went from friend to comrade. Okay. 'Tis I, Drakestail. I wish to speak to the king. Speak to the king? That's easily said. The king is dining and will not be disturbed. Knocker, I hardly know her. I swear, funny. It is yet to be seen. No, you're good. I know somebody that uses that a lot. The blanker, I hardly know her. Lahonk, eagle puffing? I don't know about eagle puffing. Were you not there earlier today? There was a... Hey! You're good. Violence. There was someone in the last stream that was like, I just read the page flipping or page ruffling as rage puffing, and then we giggled and I said, what would that sound like? And then I did that and it was there. A man has fallen into the river in Lego City. What? Where? Huh? What's happening? No, don't fall into the river, little Lego man. Okay, we are very off track. I need to focus. So, you must go save river. Oh my gosh. I want to know what you think interrupted yourself. Did you stop yourself? Did someone slap you? What happened? Okay. So, it's easy to be said, king is dining. King is dining. You will not be disturbed. It's me, your friendly pothead follower. Yay! Hello. I believe you were the one that said rage puffing, right? They were just laughing at it. Might have been someone else, but I thought maybe it was you. Okay. Will not be disturbed because he is dining. I need to focus. All right. Tell him that it is I, and I have come, he well knows why. Of course, it's got a rhyme. Anyway. The porter shuts his wicket and goes up to say it to the king, who is just sitting down to dinner with a napkin round his neck and all his ministers. So the napkin is round his neck and all his ministers? No, napkin is around his neck and he's got his ministers. Good, good, said the king, laughing. I know what it is. Make him come in and put him with the turkeys and chickens. That doesn't sound like a good idea. The porter descends. Have the goodness to enter, I guess the porter says. Very big napkin. Yes. Good, says Drake's tail to himself. I shall now see how they eat at court. Probably going to be a lot of fowl, a lot of birds. But here we go. This way, says the porter. One step further. There you are. How? What? In the poultry yard? Fancy how vexed Drakestail was. Ah, so that's it, says he. Wait, I will compel you to receive me. Quack, quack, quack. When shall I get my money back? But turkeys and chickens are creatures who don't like people that are not themselves. When they saw the newcomer and how he was made, and when they heard him crying too, they began to look black at him. What? Oh, I don't like that saying. What is it? What does he want? I guess one of them said. Finally, they rushed him all together to overwhelm him with pecks. Oh no. Ooh. Hey yo, Ghost Odin 94, welcome in. They looked what at him? Indeed. I thought it said they began to look back at him, but that's not what they said. Bit uncomfortable. It is. I'm guessing that it's supposed to be some sort of thing that says that they looked harshly at him. Anyway, moving along, because I'm not responsible for how this was written. I can't. Anyway. What is it? What does he want? And all that. And then they're going to peck him. And he said, I am lost, said Drakestail to himself. When by good luck he remembers his comrade, friend Fox. So his friend Fox is also comrade? And now we have, instead of just is friend Fox, his friend Fox. So there we go. That's something. And he cries, Reynard. Okay, the fox had a name. Couldn't we just call him Reynard before? No? Okay. Reynard, come out of your earth, or Drakestail's life is of little worth. Okay. Then friend Fox. Okay, we're back to known. Okay. A friend Fox, who was only waiting for these words, hastens out, throws himself on the wicked fowls, and quick quack, he tears them to pieces, so much so that at the end of 5 minutes there was not one left alive. And Drakestail, quite content, began to sing again, quack, 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 when shall I get my money back? Was it really the birds' fault? Like, Drakestail shouldn't have been put there at all. So, like, why do we gotta kill them for that? But okay, freaking. Alright. Bro works for the IRS. It's never the duck's fault. Fox is drunk. Okay. It's an expression that means to look at someone with hate or anger. It's very outdated terminology. Thank you. Yes, I figured it was something along those lines. I don't care what you send. I'm not paying taxes. I don't care who you send. Why did I say so? What? Okay. Anyway, they've killed all the birds. Moving on. Drakestails began to sing again, quack, 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 when shall I get my money back? When the king, who was still at table, heard this refrain, and the poultry woman came to tell him what had been going on in the yard, he was terribly annoyed. Dan versus the World meme quote. Yes. He ordered them to throw this tail of a drake into the well to make an end of him. So he's breaking down. He's like, a drake's tail? Take the tail of a drake into the well and make an end of him, as opposed to this being the name of the being that you've already gotten money from. Oh my goodness. Anyways, and it was done as he commanded. Drakestail was in despair of getting himself out of such a deep hole, because he was thrown in the well, when he remembered his lady friend, the ladder. Ladder. Okay, so ladder doesn't get a name. Okay, fine. Come out of thy hold, or Drakestail's days will soon be told. Your days will be told, and that's bad? Oh my gosh. Confusing old story. But okay. My friend ladder. Jeez, every time this is Drake has a tail, Bro has gotten into some weird stuff. Okay. Um. Yes. Now my friend ladder, who was only waiting for these words, hastens out, leans her 2 arms on the edge of the well. Then Drakestail climbs nimbly on her back, and hop, he is in the yard, where he begins to sing louder than ever. When the king, who was still at the table and laughing at the good trick he had played his creditor, heard him again reclaiming his money, he became livid with rage. He commanded that the furnace should be heated, and this tail of a drake should be thrown into it, because he must be a sorcerer. The furnace was soon hot, but this time Drakestail was not so afraid. He counted on his sweetheart, my friend River. River, river, outward flow, or to death Drakestail must go. My friend River, it's so funny. My friend River, his sweetheart, the way they okay. My friend River hastens out and Eruf, Errouf, Eruf, throws herself into the furnace. Sorry, yawn. But into the furnace, which she floods with all the people who had lighted it. Oh, so they're also, but after which she flowed, growling into the hall of the palace to the height of more than 4 feet. Ooh, lots and lots and lots of water. How did that fit into the duck? No. And Drakestail, quite content, begins to swim, singing deafeningly, quack, 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 when shall I get my money back? The king was still at table, and thought himself quite sure of his game, but when he heard Drakestail singing again, and when they told him all that had passed, when they told him all that had passed, he became furious and got up from the table, brandishing his fists. Ooh. Bring him here, and I'll cut his throat. Bring him here, quick, cried he. And quickly 2 footmen ran to fetch Drakestail. At last, said the poor chap, going up the great stairs, they have decided to receive me. Oh, no. Imagine his terror when, on entering, he sees the king, as red as a turkey cock. Alrighty then. And all his ministers attending him, standing sword in hand. They just straight up referred to that. Okay, alrighty. They're all the ministers attending him, standing sword in hand. He thought this time it was all up with him. Okay. Happily, he remembered that there was still one remaining friend. Full of other things, but anyway. And he cried with dying accents. There's a dying accent? There's plurals, but okay. Wasp's nest, make a sally. What? Make a sally? Jeez. Such old ways of speaking. Or Drakestail never more may rally. Why don't we measure redness like that anymore? Portable Jeff, because that would be a very concerning way to be measuring things. Okay, no. So he says, come along, or else I won't rally. I'm glad we don't yet. Hereupon, the scene changes. Ooh. And then it says BS. I don't know if that's buzz, or but bus. Bayonet them. The braves wasp nest rushes out with all his wasps. They threw themselves on the infuriated king and his ministers and stung them so fiercely in the face that they lost their heads, and not knowing where to hide themselves, they all jumped pell-mell from the window and broke their necks on the pavement. Fun. Behold, Drakestail, much astonished, all alone in the big saloon and master of the field. He could not get over it.
Nevertheless, he remembered shortly what he had come for to the palace, and improving the occasion, he set to work to hunt for his dear money. But in vain he rummaged in all the drawers, he found nothing, all had been spent. And ferreting thus from room to room, at last to the one with the throne in it, and feeling fatigued, he sat himself down on it to think over his adventure. In the meanwhile, the people had found their king and his ministers with their feet in the air on the pavement, and they had gone into the palace to know how it had occurred. On entering the throne room, when the crowd saw that there was already someone on the royal seat, they broke out in cries of surprise and joy. And joy! The king is dead! Long live the king! Heaven has sent us down this thing. Drakestail, who was no longer surprised at anything, received the acclamations of the people as if he had never done anything else all his life. A few of them certainly murmured that a Drakestail would make a fine king. Those who knew him replied that a knowing Drakestail was a more worthy king than a spendthrift like him who was lying on the pavement. Ooh. In short, they ran and took the crown off the head of the deceased and placed it on that of Drakestail, whom it fitted like wax. You're telling me a duck and a human man had the same size head? Thus he became king. And now, he said after the ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to supper. I am so hungry. The end. That one felt like the stories of old, where it was just nonsense from sentence to sentence, just a whole heckin' bunch of nonsense. Wow. Never underestimate a duck. No, but to be fair, it was all the beings he somehow fit inside of his gizzard or whatever, but okay. Scrolling back, because there was a lot. Oh no. Freaking yawn attacks. Ugh. There was a lot that people had to say. So, Drakestail, ooh. Big duck, yes. And then there's keyboard smash, howdy, and what the fuck at that comparison. How we measure redness. I'm glad we don't, yes. Nevermore Edgar Allan Poe. I know it's not, but funny, yes. Honk. Always violence, LaHonk. It would make the paint aisle at the hardware store more fun. It would make that fun, yeah. Violence. Cold. Yo, they made the king bite the curb. The king is dead. Long live the king. Oh, that's classic. Never underestimate a duck. Tiny crown. This duck could eat a lot more people than a human can. Yes, I think you're right. A whole heckin' bunch of nonsense. It was. It's an eldritch duck god. Bow down. An apt description. Yes, it was. Did the duck ever get his money back? No, he never found his money, and when he sat down to figure out what he could do, that's when they came in like, oh, you're the king. So, no, he didn't get his money back. He just became king. Adjust. Okay. We have redeems to do. Yes, I'll do hydrate. I just did my adjusting. Okay. Posture check and hydrate done. And now I have a trigger word. Okay. Corn syrup. There you go. Corn syrup. And now I will should do that. Alright. The IRS owed him his paycheck, so he cashed in the entire RIS as compensation. Ask will lurk. Ooh, okay. We have a new lurk command and a new lurk emote if you want to use those. Those are new and fun. Nice roll, Darkstorm. Welcome back in. Thank you for the follow, Portable Jeff. Welcome to the group. We're not always like this, but it is fun when we are. All right.
Jeez, I've got so many yawns today. Yawn attacks. Okay. Um. Oh, Dark Storm, not great, Riz. You had too good of a roll. You don't get to have good numbers all around. Long. Sad roll. An 8. Mm-hmm. Riz level of 76. See? There you go. Got a better Riz. Still sad at that. Hey, that's over 3/4. That's pretty good. What was doing? Yes, singing frog. That's what we're doing. That's our next one. Ooh, yeah, see, there you go. Lurk away. I should update the lurk so that it includes the little emote. I'll put that there. Okay, but now singing frog. The most popular emote, or no, one most popular trigger, brain. Oh. Okay, here we go. And that was singing frog. And then we have the little new redeem, kind of goofy joke redeem, but fun. Rage puffs. It came from someone quickly reading or rage puffing. It's the page ruffling redeem. When they saw that one, their brain switched the letters over, and so it became rage puffing. But here we go. Mm. It's still so silly, so I'm laughing at it. Okay, go on. Focus. I can't take it seriously. I can't take it. I can't do it for more than a couple of seconds at a time. But there you go. There was your rage puffing. Ooh. Okay, trigger word. Psst, 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 psst. Psst, 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 psst. You go, Rabbit Imperial Guard. If you're trying to lure a cat out from somewhere, I hope that was helpful. Okay. What do you do? Mm. Yes, kitty. Okay. So, Raven, I burnt my fries again. I don't think this new kind works for me. Lol. Sorry, burnt your fries again. That's not good. Eat a raw potato. Lonk. Oh, all the cat luring. All of the cat luring. Which reminds me of the next story's name, which is Ratcatcher. So here we go. Ooh. Rat. Come on. Oh, no, wait. The Ratcatcher. There you go. Doo-doo-doo-doo. There we go. Boops. Potato carbohydrates. Yes, carbs are good for you. Your brain needs them. Remy the rat. Remy the rat. Okay. But we have, and this will involve some different language sprinkled in, I think. But okay. We have the next story. I'll just take 1 second if you. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have next story lined up. Carbohydrates. That is not potatoes. That is maybe crab roll, crab biscuits. Okay. The Ratcatcher. Here we go. Oh, I forgot to write it here. There. A very long time ago, the town of Hamel in Germany was invaded by bands of rats, the like of which had never been seen before, nor will ever be again. This is feeling very historical. Okay. They were great black creatures that ran boldly in broad daylight through the streets and swarmed so all over the houses that people at last could not put their hand or foot down anywhere without touching one. When dressing in the morning they found them in their breeches and petticoats, in their pockets and in their boots, and when they wanted a morsel to eat, the voracious horde had swept away everything from cellar to garret. The night was even worse. As soon as the lights were out, these untiring nibblers set to work. I can ask for that when I get long. Okay, sorry. The nibblers were at work. And everywhere, in the ceilings, oh no. The yawns are not letting me breathe. Okay. And everywhere, in the ceilings, in the floors, in the cupboards, at the doors, there was a chase and a rummage, and so furious a noise of gimlets, pincers, and saws, that a deaf man could not have rested for 1 hour together. So even the deaf were not able to. Neither cats nor dogs, nor poison nor traps, nor prayers nor candles burnt to all the saints. Nothing would do anything. The more they killed, the more came, and the inhabitants of Hamel began to go to the dogs, not that they were of much use. When one Friday there arrived in the town a man with a queer face who played the bagpipes and sang this refrain: Qui verra, le voilà le preneur de rats. Des rats. Sorry. He was a great gawky fellow, dry and bronzed, with a crooked nose, a long rat-tail mustache, 2 great yellow, piercing and mocking eyes, under a large felt hat set off by a scarlet cock's feather. He was dressed in a green jacket with a leather belt and red breeches, and on his feet were sandals fastened by thongs passed round his legs in the Romani fashion.
I'm not going to say the other word, thank you. That is how he may be seen to this day, painted on a window in the Cathedral of Hamel. Well, now I want to know, is there a real... Hamel, Germany Ratcatcher, maybe. I think that they have it down. Hamelin might be what it was supposed to do. But this is supposed to be the Pied Piper story, I guess. Okay. Unclear that this is really painted on the cathedral, but okay. He stopped on the great marketplace before the town hall, turned his back on the church, and went on with his music, singing, "Who lives shall see, this is he, the Ratcatcher." The town council had just assembled to consider once more this plague of Egypt, from which no one could save the town. The stranger sent word to the councillors that, if they would make it worth his while, he would rid them of all their rats before night, down to the very last. "Then he is a sorcerer," cried the citizens with one voice. "We must beware of him." The town councillor, who was considered clever, reassured them. He said, "Sorcerer or no, if this bagpiper speaks the truth, it is he who sent us this horrible vermin that he wants to rid of us today for money. Well, we must learn to catch the devil in his own snares. You leave it to me." Aha, so they think that this guy is a swindler, you know. He made the problem so that he could solve it for a good hefty price. You leave it to me. "Leave it to the town councillor," said the citizens one to another, and the stranger was brought before them. "Before night," said he, "I shall have dispatched all the rats in Hamel, if you will but pay me a gross a head." "A gross a head," cried the citizens, "but that will come to millions of florins." The town councillor simply shrugged his shoulders and said to the stranger, "A bargain. To work. The rats will be paid 1 gross a head, as you ask." The bagpiper announced that he would operate that very evening when the moon rose. He added that the inhabitants should at that hour leave the streets free, and content themselves with looking out of their windows at what was passing, and that it would be a pleasant spectacle. When the people of Hamel heard of the bargain, they too exclaimed, "A gross a head! But this will cost us a deal of money." "Leave it to the town councillor," said the town council with a malicious air, and the good people of Hamel repeated with their councillors, "Leave it to the town councillor." Towards 9 at night the bagpiper reappeared on the marketplace. He turned, as at first, his back to the church, and the moment the moon rose on the horizon, tra-ri-ah, tra-ri, the bagpipes resounded. It was first a slow, caressing sound, then more and more lively and urgent, and so sonorous and piercing that it penetrated as far as the farthest alleys and retreats of the town. Soon, from the bottom of the cellars to the top of the garrets, from under all the furniture, from all the nooks and corners of the houses, out came the rats. Search for the door, filing themselves into the street, and trip, 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 begin to run in file towards the front of the town hall, so squeezed together that they covered the pavement like the waves of flooded torrent. Stumbly. When the square was quite full, the bagpiper faced about, and, still playing briskly, turned towards the river that runs at the foot of the walls of Hamel. Arrived there, he turned around. The rats were following. "Hop, hop," he cried, pointing with his finger to the middle of the stream, where the water whirled and was drawn down as if through a funnel. And hop, hop, without hesitating, the rats took the leap, swam straight to the funnel, plunged in head foremost, and disappeared. The plunging continued thus without ceasing till midnight. At last, dragging himself with difficulty, came a big rat, white with age, and stopped on the bank. It was the king of the band. "Are they all there, friend Blanchette?" asked the bagpiper. "They are all there," replied friend Blanchette. "And how many were they?" 990,999. "Well reckoned?" "Well reckoned." "Then go and join them, old sire, and au revoir." Then the old white rat sprang in his turn into the river, swam to the whirlpool, and disappeared. When the bagpiper had thus concluded his business, he went to bed at his inn, and for the first time during 3 months the people of Hamel slept quietly through the night. The next morning at 9 o'clock, the bagpiper repaired to the town hall, where the town council awaited him. "All your rats took a jump into the river yesterday," said he to the councillors, "and I guarantee that not one of them comes back. They were 990,999 at 1 gross a head. Reckon." "Let us reckon the heads first. 1 gross a head is 1 head the gross. Where are the heads?" The Ratcatcher did not expect this treacherous stroke. He paled with anger, and his eyes flashed fire. "The heads!" cried he. "If you care about them, go and find them in the river." "So," replied the town councillor, "you refuse to hold to the terms of your agreement? We ourselves could refuse you all payment, but you have been of use to us, and we will not let you go without a recompense," and he offered him 50 crowns. "Keep your recompense for yourself," replied the Ratcatcher proudly. "If you do not pay me, I will be paid by your heirs." Thereupon he pulled his hat down over his eyes, went hastily out of the hall, and left the town without speaking to a soul. When the Hamel people heard how the affair had ended, they rubbed their hands, and with no more scruple than their town councillor, they laughed over the Ratcatcher, who, they said, was caught in his own trap. But what made them laugh above all was his threat of getting himself paid by their heirs. Ha! They wished that they only had such creditors for the rest of their lives. Next day, which was a Sunday, they all went gaily to church, thinking that after Mass they would at last be able to eat some good thing that the rats had not tasted before them. They never suspected the terrible surprise that awaited them on their return home. No children anywhere. They had all disappeared. "Our children! Where are our poor children?" was the cry that was soon heard in all the streets. Then through the east door of the town came 3 little boys who cried and wept, and this is what they told. While the parents were at church, a wonderful music had resounded. Soon all the little boys and all the little girls that had been left at home had gone out, attracted by the magic sounds, and had rushed to the great market-place. There they found the Ratcatcher playing his bagpipes at the same spot as the evening before. Then the stranger had begun to walk quickly, and they had followed, running, singing, and dancing to the sound of the music, as far as the foot of the mountain which one sees on entering Hamel. At their approach the mountain had opened a little, and the bagpiper had gone in with them, after which it had closed again. Only the 3 little ones who told the adventure had remained outside, as if by a miracle. One was bandy-legged and could not run fast enough. The other, who had left the house in haste, one foot shod the other bare, had hurt himself against a big stone and could not walk without difficulty. Okay, so because he was leaving so quickly, he'd hurt himself. And the third had arrived in time, but in hurrying to go in with the others had struck so violently against the wall of the mountain that he fell backwards at the moment and closed upon his comrades. Oh. At this story the parents redoubled their lamentations. They ran with pikes and mattocks to the mountain, and searched till evening to find the opening by which their children had disappeared, without being able to find it. Yawn attacks. I tried. They were unable to find it. At last, the night falling, they returned desolate to Hamel. But the most unhappy of all was the town councillor, for he lost 3 little boys and 2 pretty little girls, and to crown all, the people of Hamel overwhelmed him with reproaches, forgetting that the evening before they had all agreed with him. What had become of all these unfortunate children? The parents always hoped they were not dead, and that the Ratcatcher, who certainly must have come out of the mountain, would have taken them with him to his country. That is why for several years they sent in search of them to different countries, but no one ever came on the trace of the poor little ones. It was not until much later that anything was to be heard of them. About 150 years after the event, when there was no longer one left of the fathers, mothers, brothers, or sisters that day, there arrived one evening in Hamel some merchants of Bremen returning from the east, who asked to speak with the citizens. They told that they, in crossing Hungary, had sojourned in a mountainous country called Transylvania, where the inhabitants only spoke German, while all around them nothing was spoken but Hungarian. These people also declared that they came from Germany, but they did not know how they chanced to be in this strange country. Now, said the merchants of Bremen, these Germans cannot be the other than the descendants of the lost children of Hamel. The people of Hamel did not doubt it, and since that day they regarded as certain that the Transylvanians of Hungary are their country folk, whose ancestors, as children, were brought there by the Ratcatcher. There are more difficult things to believe than that. The end. They just there are weirder things to believe in, but that's what we believe. Okay, that's the Ratcatcher. All right. No. There you go. Guess I've got more to do. I'm just going to take a second because I am constantly yawning. Eep. Okay. Whew. Very eepy. Needlessly eepy. Okay. Please. Tears the Pastel Ghost. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Pickwiff. A little keyboard smash name. But welcome in. Thank you for joining us. And okay, I will start with all of Lahonk's requests. There's a bunch. I think we'll start with Tin in the Plastic Jar. We'll go backwards. Okay. Okay, settling. Here we go. Oh, I'm too tall. Let's get down low. You can see my froggies on my antlers. Okay. Oh, come on. Okay.
There we go with the tin in the plastic jar. And, ooh, oh, I missed it. Running an ad real quick. Do. I will make sure that that gets sorted. Those of you that can hear me, of course. Ooh. I'll do comb and then humming and then ruffling and puffing. Okay. Yeah, I'll prep for comb twing. There we go. Okay. Just a little bit longer though. I was saying in the last stream basically that I don't want there to be any barriers to stuff. So that includes I don't want to do things while there's an ad going. But okay. Alright, comb twing now. Sorry I had to run the ad with little notice. Alright, here we go. Here we go with comb twing. Oh, thank you for the follow, Cosmic Pand. Welcome in. Thank you for following. Okay, I'll do humming. I think. Alright. Funny. Sorry. I will update that in a minute. Okay. So now, page ruffling and rage puffing. I'll go again with rage puffing. I won't be able to do it very long. I cannot maintain it very long, it seems. But okay. I would make it higher cost to do, but also I don't do it very long, so I figure this is okay. I managed a while. He's so stupid. He's just so wonderfully stupid. Okay. A little bit more. Okay, we done. No, I can't. Long, stop, you little shit. That rage puffing isn't happening until after the next story. You understand me? You understand me? Okay. Now, page ruffling. Long cry. You get what you get. Okay. Page rough. There we go. That's the rage. Oh my gosh. Hang on, let me grab a 7TV emote. Oh, okay, good. I will wait. I will prep my book. But just sit right here, waiting, waiting. That's what I imagine his sound is. That's him. That's little Patrick. Look at him, his eyes bulging out. We need more SpongeBob in life. Okay. Alright. It's page ruffling time. So, little book and then big book. And a bigger book. gotta say, the page ruffling always blows the smell of books into me. So, like, I get the smell of a book just wafting up in my face. It's a fun one. Book smell. Okay. There is page ruffling, and I will get to the next rage puffing after the next story. I found the story I had said on my phone. I managed to get that story that we had pulled up. The Three Princesses of Whiteland is what it's called. But the version that I pulled up was one from the next fairy book. Or one of the next fairy books. It's specifically a Norwegian folktale. So I think that one is just gonna be in that book instead. There is so many books of these on even just this one site. So I think we'll get to that story eventually, but just not this time. So I will go back to on my computer and we'll do the next story on there instead of this one. That's we'll eventually get to. More ducks? We'll see if there's ducks. I have no idea if there will be ducks. We want ducks? Okay. We'll see if we can find ducks. After Ratcatcher is the true history of Little Golden Hood. Now, I don't know who the heck Golden Hood is. Oh, goodness. But then I've just read Wolf. I have a feeling this is Red Riding Hood, but it's Golden Hood this time. So that's going to be fun. It's not a terribly long one, so we'll get to redeem soon enough. The true history of Golden Hood. There you go. Move along, come along. There we go. The true history of Little Golden Hood. Oh, no. That's where that one got separated. That's not what we want. There. The letters get smushed together a lot. Brian, nice little dance. Other people's frogs. It's not my frog. Let me tell you what. It's not my frog. But he's very cute dance. I like him. Okay. Well, yeah. Right. Here we go. Little Golden Hood. You know the tale of poor little Red Riding Hood, that the wolf deceived and devoured with her cake, her little butter can, and her grandmother. Well, the true story happened quite differently as we know now. And first, all the little girl was called, and is still called, Little Golden Hood. Secondly, it was not she nor the good grand dame, but the wicked wolf who was, in the end, caught and devoured. Ooh, what a good way to start. You think you know the story, but you don't. Ooh, thank you for the follow. Abiel243, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hi. Ooh, even more funky dancing. He slides. Do the electric frog slide. Okay, focus. Story. Yes, good. And then it says, only listen. Oh, thank you. Dino Dance, welcome in. Okay. It says, only listen. The story begins something like the tale. There was once a little peasant girl, pretty and nice as a star in its season. Her real name was Blanchette. but she was more often called Little Golden Hood, on account of how a wonderful little cloak with a hood, gold and fire-colored, which she always had on. This little hood was given her by her grandmother, who was so old that she did not know her age. It ought to bring her good luck, for it was made of a ray of sunshine, she said. And as the good old woman was considered something of a witch, everyone thought the little hood rather bewitched, too. And so it was, as you will see. Woohoo! I like the way they're telling this. This is a good storytelling. Props to whoever did this. One day the mother said to the child, "Let us see, my little golden hood, if you know how to find your way find your way by yourself. You shall take this good piece of cake to your grandmother for a Sunday treat tomorrow. You will ask her how she is, and come back at once, without stopping to chatter on the way with people you don't know. Do you quite understand?" Fight her way back. I quite understand, replied Blanchette gaily, and off she went with the cake, quite proud of her errand. But the grandmother... Come on. Sorry. Go. Adjustments. But the grandmother lived in another village, and there was a big wood to cross before getting there. At a turn of the road under the trees, suddenly, who goes there? Friend Wolf. He had seen the child start alone, and I should say that those two, who goes there, seems like it was quoted from someone, as does Friend Wolf. I imagine who goes there, Golden Hood said, and Friend Wolf said, but I don't know. He had seen the child start alone, and the villain was waiting to devour her, when at the same moment he perceived some woodcutters who might observe him, and he changed his mind. Instead of falling upon Blanchette, he came frisking up to her like a good dog. "'Tis you, my nice little Golden Hood," said he. So the little girl stops to talk with the wolf, who, for all that, she did not know in the least. Already disobeying Mom. "Ooh, hello, Kiwi ones. Hello, welcome in. You know me. You know me then," said she. "What is your name?" "My name is Friend Wolf." "And where are you going thus, my pretty one, with your little basket on your arm?" "I am going to my grandmother to take her a good piece of cake for her Sunday treat tomorrow." "And where does she live, your grandmother?" "She lives at the other side of the wood, in the first house in the village, near the windmill, you know." Stop giving out personal information. "Ah, yes, I know now," said the wolf. "Well, that's just where I'm going. I shall get there before you, no doubt, with your little bits of legs, and I'll tell her you're coming to see her, then she'll wait for you." Thereupon the wolf cuts across the wood, and in 5 minutes arrives at the grandmother's house. He knocks at the door. Tock, tock. No answer. He knocks louder. Nobody. Then he stands up on end, puts his 2 forepaws on the latch, and the door opens. Not a soul in the house. The old woman had risen early to sell herbs in the town, and she had gone off in such haste, that she had left her bed unmade, with her great nightcap on the pillow. "Good," said the wolf to himself. "I know what I'll do." He shuts the door, pulls the grandmother's nightcap down to his eyes, then he lies down all his length in the bed and draws the curtains. In the meantime, the good Blanchette went quietly on her way, as little girls do, amusing herself here and there by picking Easter daisies, watching the little birds making their nests, and running after the butterflies which fluttered in the sunshine. At last she arrives at the door. Knock, knock. Interesting. Before they referred to knocking as talk, talk. But okay. Knock, knock. "Who is there?" says the wolf, softening his rough voice as best he can. "It's me, Granny, your little Golden Hood. I'm bringing you a big piece of cake for your Sunday treat tomorrow. Press your finger on the latch, then push, and the door opens. Why, you've got a cold, Granny, said she, coming in. Ahem, a little, dot, 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 replies the wolf, pretending to cough. Oh, so I guess he's coughing. A little, little. Shut the door well, my little lamb. Put your basket on the table, and then take off your frock, and come and lie down by me. You shall rest a little. The good child undresses, but observe this, she kept her little hood upon her head. When she saw what a figure her granny cut in bed, the poor little thing was much surprised. Oh, cries she, how like you how like you are to friend Wolf, grandmother. That's on account of my nightcap, child, replies the wolf. I don't think so, but okay. Oh, what hairy arms you've got, grandmother. All the better to hug you, my child. Oh, what a big tongue you've got, grandmother. All the better for answering, child. Oh, what a mouthful of great white teeth you have, grandmother. That's for crunching little children with. And the wolf opened his jaws wide to swallow Blanchette, but she put down her head, crying, Mamma, Mamma, and the wolf only caught her little hood. Thereupon, oh dear, he draws back, crying and shaking his jaw as if he swallowed red-hot coals. It was the little fire-colored hood that had burnt his tongue right down his throat. The little hood, you see, was one of those magic caps that they used to have in former times, in the stories for making oneself invisible or invulnerable. So there was the wolf with his throat burning, jumping off the bed and trying to find the door, howling and howling as if all the dogs in the country were at his heels. Just at this moment the grandmother arrives, returning from the town with her long sack empty on her shoulder. Ah, brigand, she cries, wait a bit. Quickly she opens her sack wide across the door, and the maddened wolf springs in head downwards. It is he now that is caught, swallowed like a letter in the post. For the brave old dame shuts her sack so, and she runs and empties it in the well, where the vagabond, still howling, tumbles in and is drowned. Ah, scoundrel, you thought you could crunch my little grandchild. Well, tomorrow we will make her a muff of your skin, and you yourself shall be crunched, for we will give your carcass to the dogs. Thereupon the grandmother hastened to dress poor Blanchette, who was still trembling with fear in the bed. Well, she said to her, without my little hood, where would you be now, darling? And to restore heart and legs to the child, she made her eat a good piece of her cake and drink a good draught of wine. Ooh, the child drank wine. Okay. After which she took her by the hand and led her back to the house. And then, who was it who scolded her when she knew all that had happened? It was the mother. But Blanchette promised over and over again that she would never more stop to listen to a wolf, so that at last the mother forgave her. And Blanchette, the little golden hood, kept her word, and in fine weather she may still be seen in the fields with her pretty little hood, the color of the sun. I thought she lost that, but okay. But to see her you must rise early. Ah, ha ha ha, to go see the sunrise. Okay, cute, funny. But that is the true history of Little Golden Hood. Cute. All right. And what are we up to now? I'm going to get some hydrate first, and then we have Dice and Rage Puppy. Okay. Rage. Bubbing. There we go. No, that's not what I'm doing. Oh, come on. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. Oh, Oh, headphones. Ouch. That was not nice. That was a pinch. Okay.
Up, 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 up. For Patrick.
You make me do such silly things. Sounds like a really mad cat. I would think that a cat sounds a little bit more, but okay. Sounds so cartoony. Okay, that was fun, but I can't. Oh, my cheek hurt. My ears hurt too. Headphones are being funny. Oh. God damn it, my honk. Ah! I did rage. I will do dice. I'm not doing 2 rage pufflings. Rufflings. What? Rage puffings. There. I'm not doing 2 of those in one break, okay? Dice. Dice, dice, dice. We are moving and we're doing dice. Every time. I will collect it and get it back. Okay. Last roll. Here we go. I rolled a 16 on the last roll with my d20. The other numbers are 5, 1, 5, 4, 3, 60. Or 6. Okay, there we go. Put this away. Put these away. The dice. Boop, boop. Mm-hmm. Okay. I will do page and the trigger word. I will not do rage again. We give it some spacings. Some spacings out. But okay. Trigger word. 1-1 was a racehorse. 2-2 was 1-2. 1-1-1-1 race. 2-2-1-1-2. There you go. I sounded like a robot. Binary code. But okay. Page. Ruffling. Alright. Again, we start with small book. the big book. Sorry. Okay, there was our page ruffling. Okay. We just have the one to do after this next story. Okay. Let's see what this next one is. The Golden Branch. This one's a bit longer. This might be our last story of the stream, but we'll see. The Golden Branch. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Golden Branch. Once upon a time, there was a king who was so morose and disagreeable that he was feared by all his subjects, and with good reason. As for the most trifling offences, he would have their heads cut off. The king, this King Grumpy, as he was called, had one son who was as different from his father as he could possibly be. No prince equaled him in cleverness and kindness of heart, but unfortunately he was most terribly ugly. Hey, we finally got a mix-up in the beauty is value like the spin in this world. We finally got somebody that doesn't match their looks. Wow, okay. All right. So, as wonderful, as clever, and kind as he is ugly. He had crooked legs and squinting eyes, a large mouth all on one side, and a hunchback. Aha. Okay, so this is just hunchback. Okay. Progress. Insert the little bit of Community where, like, Troy does the big elbow thumbs up. You know, that little progress. Sorry. Okay. Yes. And he had a hunchback. Never was there a beautiful soul in such a frightful little body, but in spite of his appearance, everybody loved him. Hey, also good progress. The queen, his mother, called him Curlicue because it was a name she rather liked and it seemed to suit him. Curlicue. It's spelt Curlicu. Curlicue. Maybe it's Surlicu, but I think it's Curlicue. King Grumpy, who cared a great deal more for his own grandeur than for his son's happiness, wished to betroth the prince to the daughter of a neighboring king, whose great estates joined his own, for he thought that this alliance would make him more powerful than ever, and as for the princess, she would do very well for Prince Curlicue, for she was as ugly as himself. Indeed, though she was the most amiable creature in the world, there was no concealing the fact that she was frightful, and so lame that she always went about with a crutch, and people called her Princess Cabbage Stalk. Okay. These names are really something in this story. Wow.
The king, having asked for and received a portrait of this princess, had it placed in his great hall under a canopy, and sent for Prince Curlicue, to whom he said that at this was the portrait of his future bride. He hoped the prince found it charming. The prince, after one glance at it, turned away with a disdainful air, which greatly offended his father. So, even though he's ugly and such, he doesn't. Okay. Am I to understand that you are not pleased? He said very sharply. No, sire, replied the prince. How could I be pleased to marry an ugly, lame princess? Certainly it is becoming in you, all caps you, to object to that, said King Grumpy, since you are ugly enough to frighten anyone yourself. That is the very reason, said the prince, that I wish to marry someone who is not ugly. I'm quite tired enough of seeing myself. I tell you that you shall marry her, cried King Grumpy angrily. And the prince, seeing that it was of no use to remonstrate, bowed and retired. Oh boy, this is going to be an interesting one. Okay. As King Grumpy was not used to being contradicted in anything, he was very much displeased with his son, and ordered that he should be imprisoned in the tower that was kept on purpose for rebellious princes. Oh my god! But had not been used for about 200 years, because there had not been any rebellious princes. That is. The prince thought all the rooms looked strangely old-fashioned with their antique furniture, but as there was a good library, he was pleased, for he was very fond of reading, and he soon got permission to have as many books as he liked. But when he looked at them, he found that they were written in a foreign language, and he could not understand a single word, though he amused himself with trying. King Grumpy was so convinced that Prince Curlicue would soon get tired of being in prison, and so consent to marry the Prince Cabbage Stalk, that he sent ambassadors to her father proposing that she should come and be married to his son, who would make her perfectly happy. That's just going to break everyone's hearts, you asshole. But okay. The king was delighted to receive so good an offer for his unlucky daughter, though, to tell the truth, he found it impossible to admire the prince's portrait which had been sent to him. However, he had it placed in as favorable a light as possible and sent for the princess, but the moment she caught sight of it, she looked the other way and began to cry. The king, who was very much annoyed to see how greatly she disliked it, took a mirror, and holding it up before the unhappy princess, said, I see you do not think the prince handsome, but look at yourself and see if you have any right to complain about that. See, this feels very icky, and like people have value for marriage beyond their looks. We've talked about how lovely in heart and like brains these two are, but still their family is only gonna be like, you have nothing to complain about. You're ugly too. It's like, I know I'm ugly. You think I don't know I'm ugly? Oh my god. These poor guys. Okay. Sire, she answered, I do not wish to complain. Only I beg of you do not make me marry at all. I had rather be the unhappy Princess Cabbage Stalk all my life than inflict the sight of my ugliness on anyone else. See, like, you don't need to jump to your own conclusions, kings. Okay. But the king would not listen to her and sent her away with the ambassadors. So they're both going to be miserable for a little while. Probably they're going to end up being friendly and nice anyway, and maybe they'll fall in love or not. But like, oh, guys, do it. Okay. In the meantime, the prince was kept safely locked up in his tower, and that he might be as dull as possible, King Grumpy ordered that no one should speak to him, and that they should give him next to nothing to eat. But all the princess guards, I think they mean all the prince's guards, were so fond of him, they didn't even say the princesses, it's just all the princess guards. So, all the prince is, like, the guards of the prince, were so fond of him that they did everything they dared, in spite of the king, to make the time pass pleasantly. One day, as the prince was walking up and down the great gallery, thinking how miserable it was to be ugly, and to be forced to marry an equally frightful princess, he looked up suddenly and noticed that the painted windows were particularly bright and beautiful, and for the sake of doing something that would change his sad thoughts, he began to examine them attentively. He found that the pictures seemed to be scenes from the life of a man who appeared in every window, and the prince, fancying that he saw this man some resemblance to himself, began to be deeply interested. In the first window there was a picture of him in one of the turrets of the tower. Farther on he was seeking something in a chink in the wall. In the next picture he was opening an old cabinet with a golden key, and so it went on through numbers of scenes, and presently the prince noticed that another figure occupied the most important place in each scene, and this time it was a tall, handsome young man. Poor Prince Curlicue found it a pleasure to look at him, for he was so straight and strong. By this time it had grown dark, and the prince had to go back to his own room, and to amuse himself he took up a quaint old book and began to look at the pictures. But his surprise was great to find that they represented the same scenes as the windows of the gallery, and what was more, that they seemed to be alive. Ooh. In looking at pictures of musicians, he saw their hands move and heard sweet sounds. There was a picture of a ball, and the prince could watch the little dancing people come and go. He turned a page, and there was an excellent smell of a savory dinner, and one of the figures who sat at the feast looked at him and said, "We drink your health, Curlicue. Try to give us our queen again, for if you do, you will be rewarded. If not, it will be the worse for you." Ooh. At these words, the prince, who had been growing more and more astonished, was fairly terrified, and dropping the book with a crash, he sank back insensible. The noise he made brought his guards to his aid, and as soon as he revived, they asked him what was the matter. He answered that he was so faint and giddy with hunger that he had imagined he saw and heard all sorts of strange things. Thereupon, in spite of the king's orders, the guards gave him an excellent supper, and when he had eaten it, he again opened his book, but could see none of the wonderful pictures, which convinced him that he must have been dreaming before. However, when he went into the gallery next day and looked at the painted windows again, he found that they moved, and the figures came and went as if they had been alive, and after watching the one who was like himself find the key in the crack of the turret wall and open the old cabinet, he determined to go and examine the place himself and try to find out what the mystery was. So he went up into the turret and began to search about and tap upon the walls, and all at once he came upon a place that sounded hollow. Taking a hammer, he broke away a bit of the stone and found behind it a little golden key. The next thing to do was to find the cabinet, and the prince soon came to it, hidden away in a dark corner, though indeed it was so old and battered looking that he would never have noticed it of his own accord. At first he could not see any keyhole, but after a careful search he found one hidden in the carving, and the golden key just fitted it. So the prince gave it a vigorous turn, and the doors flew open. Ugly and old as the cabinet was outside, nothing could have been more rich and beautiful than what met the prince's astonished eyes. Every drawer was made of crystal, of amber, or of some precious stone, and was quite full of every kind of treasure. Prince Curlicue was delighted. He opened one after another until at last he came to one tiny drawer which contained only an emerald key. "I believe that this must open that little golden door in the middle," said the prince to himself, and he fitted in the little key and turned it. The tiny door swung back, and a soft crimson light gleamed over the whole cabinet. The prince found that it proceeded from an immense glowing carbuncle made into a box which lay before him. He lost no time in opening it, but what was his horror when he found that it contained a man's hand, which was holding a portrait. His first thought was to put back the terrible box and fly from the turret, but a voice in his ear said, "This hand belonged to one whom you can help and restore. Look at this beautiful portrait. the original of which was the cause of all my misfortunes. And if you wish to help me, go without a moment's delay to the great gallery. Notice where the sun's rays fall most brightly, and if you seek there, you will find my treasure. Ooh. The voice ceased, and though the prince in his bewilderment asked various questions, he received no answer. So he put back the box and locked the cabinet up again, and having replaced the key in the crack in the wall, hastened down to the gallery. When he entered it, all the windows shook and clattered in the strangest way, but the prince did not heed them. He was looking so carefully for the place where the sun shone most brightly, and it seemed to him that it was upon the portrait of a most splendidly handsome young man. He went up and examined it, and found that it rested against the ebony and gold paneling, just like any of the other pictures in the gallery. He was puzzled, not knowing what to do next, until it occurred to him to see if the windows would help him, and looking at the nearest, he saw a picture of himself lifting the picture from the wall. The pictures that show him what to do. The prince took the hint, and lifting aside the picture without difficulty, found himself in a marble hall adorned with statues. From this he passed on through the numbers of splendid rooms until at last he reached one all hung with blue gauze. The walls were of turquoises, and upon a low couch lay a lovely lady who seemed to be asleep. Her hair, black as ebony, was spread across the pillows, making her face look ivory white, and the prince noticed that she was unquiet, and when he softly advanced, fearing to wake her, he could hear her sigh and murmur to herself, "Ah, how dared you think to win my love by separating me from my beloved Florimond, and in my presence cutting off that dear hand that even you should have feared and honored?" And then the tears rolled slowly down the lovely lady's cheeks, and Prince Curlicue began to comprehend that she was under an enchantment, and that it was the hand of her lover that he had found. At this moment a huge eagle flew into the room, holding in its talons a golden branch upon which were growing what looked like clusters of cherries, only every cherry was a single glowing ruby. This he presented to the prince, who guessed by this time that he was in some way to break the enchantment that surrounded the sleeping lady. Taking the branch, he touched her lightly with it, saying, "Fair one, I know not by what enchantment thou art bound, but in the name of thy beloved Florimond, I conjure thee to come back to the life which thou hast lost, but not forgotten." Instantly the lady opened her lustrous eyes and saw the eagle hovering near. "Ah, stay, dear love, stay," she cried, but the eagle, uttering a dolorous cry, fluttered his broad wings and disappeared. Then the lady turned to Prince Curlicue and said, "I know that it is you I owe my deliverance from an enchantment which has held me for 200 years. If there is anything that I can do for you in return, you have only to tell me, and all my fairy power shall be used to make you happy." "Madam," said Prince Curlicue, "I wish to be allowed to restore your beloved Florimond to his natural form, since I cannot forget the tears you shed for him." "Aw. Oh, hello, welcome in. Glad you look very cozy." "That is very amiable of you, dear prince," said the fairy, "but it is reserved for another person to do that. I cannot explain more at present. But is there nothing you wish for yourself?" "Oh, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. I like Carlots too. Do you like the frogs that have joined us? The frogs." They're hanging out on the antlers on my head on the rock. They like the fairy tales, so they're here. "Is there nothing you wish for yourself?" "Yes." "Madam," cried the prince, flinging himself down at her feet, "only look at my ugliness. I am called Curlicue, and am an object of derision. I entreat you to make me less ridiculous." "Rise, prince," said the fairy, touching him with the golden branch. "Be as accomplished as you are handsome, and take the name of Prince Peerless, since that is the only title which will suit you now." "Ooh, thank you for the follow. Thank you very much. Grayson Kamariki VT. I probably didn't say any of that right. Grayson Kamakiri.
My brain moves the letters around. Kamakiri VT. There you go. Oh yes, he's Prince Peerless. Okay. Silent from joy, the prince kissed her hand to express his thanks, and when he rose and saw his new reflection in the mirrors which surrounded him, he understood that Curlicue was indeed gone forever. Oh boy. How I wish, said the fairy, that I dared to tell you what is in store for you, and warn you of the traps which lie in your path, but I must not. Ooh. Fly from the tower, prince, and remember that the fairy Deuceline will be your friend always. When she had finished speaking, the prince, to his great astonishment, found himself no longer in the tower, but set down in a thick forest, at least 100 leagues away from it. And there we must leave him for the present and see what was happening elsewhere. Okay, then. When the guards found that the prince did not ask for his supper as usual, they went into his room, and not finding him there, were very much alarmed, and searched the tower from turret to dungeon, but without success. Knowing that the king would certainly have their heads cut off for allowing the prince to escape, they then agreed to say that he was ill, and after making the smallest among them look as much like Prince Curlicue as possible, they put him into bed and sent to inform the king. Ooh. Oh, I just hydrated. Thank you for the hydrate. Thank you very much. Enlightenment. I just see. Okay. So someone's pretending to be Curlicue. King Grumpy was quite delighted to hear that his son was ill, for he thought that he would all the sooner be brought to do as he wished and marry the princess. So he sent back to the guards to say that the prince was to be treated as severely as before, which was just that they had hoped what he would say. In the meantime, the Princess Cabbagestalk had reached the palace, traveling in a litter. King Grumpy went out to meet her, but when he saw her, with a skin like a tortoise's, her thick eyebrows meeting above her large nose, and her mouth from ear to ear, he could not help crying out, "Well, I must say Curlicue is ugly enough, but I don't think you need have thought twice before consenting to marry him." You're a dickhead. Okay, anyway. Sire, she replied, I know too well what I am like to be hurt by what you say, but I assure you that I have no wish to marry your son. I had rather be called Princess Cabbagestalk than Queen Curlicue. This made King Grumpy very angry. Your father has sent you here to marry my son, he said, and you may be sure that I am not going to offend him by altering his arrangements. So the poor princess was sent away in disgrace to her own apartments, and the ladies who attended upon her were charged to bring her to a better mind. Ooh, Princess Cabbagestalk. Based Cabbagestalk. Hi, do welcome in. Yes, she really said that. Oh, the whole these two dealing with people making their assumptions on the. Oops, sorry, move. That people making assumptions about their ugliness. Just wow. Ooh, dead weight Dante. What do you call pickled bread? Beer? I don't know. What do you call pickled bread? Where were we? Oh, there's a whole big paragraph to read. So I'll wait for your response, deadweight Dante. But please be quick. Oh, okay, I get you now. All right, should have known. Dildo. Lovely. Okay. Oh, what's this? What's this? Immediately shame. Okay. We continue the story though. Welcome in, settle in. Yeah, susses. Everybody says sus. Why is your fry old? Why is he old? Okay. Or why does he have gray hair? I guess maybe he's not old, but he's gray. I do enjoy Joyce Spout stationery, but a ruler is where I draw the line. Oh goodness, we've opened up this trapdoor again. Oh no. I have to focus. We'll get to that another time.
You're shooting him for the puns? You are not you should not be throwing rocks, little glass house, but okay. Okay, he had red hair until yesterday and then the emote changed. Huh. Funny. I'm squinting, but I don't think my model will pick it up very well. Okay. Story. We're about halfway through. So you know what? We could break right here and then pick back up. I can do the rage puffing. We'll do just a couple of little redeems for now. And then go back. We'll do a little rage puffing. Get that out of the way. Oh no, enlightenments. I'm so sorry. It's not good. Heck yeah. Well, okay then. If you're happy, you're happy. Okay. Some rage puffing, right? Okay. Looks like they switched a bunch of their emotes to gray hair. Oh, maybe the person that makes those dyed their hair recently or changed their model's hair? Maybe that's why. Might as well check mine too. Oh, it's not good. I mean, number 14's a fun number, but like, it's sad. I think they changed up the model's hair. There you go. That's why they would change all that. Aha, I knew it. Raven the Sleuth. Okay. Oh, what was doing? Rolled a 2. Enlightenments, you're just getting 2s. Oh no. Try love. That's the only other one. Let's see if you get a 2 again. Riz 2%, rolled a 2, and then 60%. Hey, there you go. I always say that you never get all good or all bad on the commands, but 60 with compared to the 2s, you should have been given a better. Oh no, that was Fetster's. Fetster got 60. That's not great. Did you get a roll earlier, Fetster? I feel like you did a roll earlier. No, somebody else did rolls. It's another 2. It went up 1%. Yes, last time you had 50, didn't you? Oh goodness, you haven't yet. You haven't done a roll yet. Okay, enlightenments, I dare you to try and do a love. And Fetster, Fetster got a 3. Oh no. Oh, love between enlightenments and Fetster is 32. Oh. Ooh, 17s. Good for you two. 32. They just put our rolls together. 3 and 21. 3 and 2. Oh, yes. There you go. They just put the 2 rolls together. 3 and then 2. Join me in the low balls, Fenster. The Cage and the Honk got 17s. Nice. Didn't we have something? Wasn't that the other one? LaHonk had rolled 17, got another 17, and Cage got a 17? That's freaking nuts. It's all 17s. Okay. I've got scissor snips to do. Let's do scissor snips. Yes. And then story again. I'm about to say snizzer snips. What? Bot is biased today. It seems to be picking one number and repeating it today. That's all that it's doing. I like 2 and I like 17. That's all we're doing. Snizzer snips. Okay, scissors. Scissors.
Thank you for the follow, Enlightenment. Thank you very much. Welcome in. Okay. And now we'll get back to story. Okay. Nope. There we go. Golden branch. Okay. Back to the golden branch. Alright. Our sassy Princess Cabbage Stalk just threw it back at him. Held low. Stop. I don't need you to tell me I'm ugly. Your son is ugly. Goodbye. Okay. At this juncture, the guards, who were in great fear that they would be found out, pretending to be the prince while the prince is not here, sent to tell the king that his son was dead, which annoyed him very much. The king is just annoyed at that. Prince Grumpy is just an overall terrible dad, terrible man. Cool. He at once made up his mind that it was entirely the princess's fault. Oh my god. Okay. Of course he did. And gave orders that she should be imprisoned in the tower in Prince Curlicue's place. Wow, dude. Okay. The Princess Cabbage Stalk was immensely astonished at this unjust proceeding. Yeah. And sent many messages of remonstrance to King Grumpy. But he was in such a temper that no one dared to deliver them or to send the letters which the princess wrote to her father. I couldn't even. Oh my gosh. Send her letters. Jeez. Okay. However, as she did not know this, she lived in hope of soon going back to her own country, and tried to amuse herself as well as she could until the time should come. Every day she walked up and down the long gallery until she, too, was attracted and fascinated by the ever-changing pictures in the windows. Ooh. I wouldn't want to be that messenger either, TBH. Yeah, I would have to be like, okay, take it. Or like, you hand it off to the person at the castle, like, hey, this is a message for him. I have to run. Quickly, take this. I have to go. And then you run away. But maybe that's something that like other messengers would be like, oh no, I know what that means. You're delivering bad news. I am not becoming the one in charge of that. That could probably happen very easily. Okay, she's amusing herself with the pictures that are changing. She was fascinated in the ever-changing pictures of the windows and recognized herself in one of the figures. Ooh. They seem to have taken a great delight in painting me since I came to this country, she said to herself. One would think that I and my crutch were put in on purpose to make that slim, charming young shepherdess in the next picture look prettier by contrast. Ah, how nice it would be to be as pretty as that. And then she looked at herself in a mirror and turned away quickly with tears in her eyes from the doleful sight. Oh. All at once she became aware that she was not alone, for behind her stood a tiny old woman in a cap, who was as ugly again as herself and quite as lame. Interesting. Is this yourself from the future? Are we going that route? Princess, she said, your regrets are so piteous that I have come to offer you the choice of goodness or beauty. Oh no. So the prince gets to be pretty without trying, and now they're going to give her the... Okay. If you wish to be pretty, you shall have your way, but you will also be vain, capricious, and frivolous.
If you remain as you are now, you shall be wise and amiable and modest." "Alas, madam," or alas, madam, maybe, cried the princess. Yeah, I think that one's supposed to be just alas, madam. There's so many of these where they randomly insert an I. Anyway. "Is it impossible to be at once wise and beautiful?" "No, child," answered the old woman. "Only to you it is decreed that you must choose between the two." Okay, well, that's good that they specifically say, hey, it is possible to be both. But in this particular instance, my friend, you will have to pick. I appreciate that clarification very much. Okay, we're clarifying that that is not the moral. Good. As long as you're beautiful, nobody cares if you're terrible in these stories. It seems like the trade most people would take in these stories. Yep, pretty much. But this one seems to have just a little bit of a slant away from that. They are zigging when the rest zag, so I'm excited. Okay. No, child. It's only for you to choose between the two. See, I have brought with me my white and yellow muff. Breathe upon the yellow side, and you will become like the pretty shepherdess you so much admire, and you will have won the love of the handsome shepherd, whose picture I have already seen you studying with interest. Breathe upon the white side, and your looks will not alter, but you will grow better and happier day by day. Now you may choose." "Ah, well," said the princess, "I suppose one can't have everything, and it's certainly better to be good than pretty." And so she breathed upon the white side of the muff and thanked the old fairy, who immediately disappeared. The Princess Cabbage Stalk felt very forlorn when she was gone, and began to think that it was quite time her father sent an army to rescue her. "If I could but get up into the turret," she thought, "to see if anyone is coming." But to climb up there seemed impossible. Wow, I like this princess. Yeah, see? This one's just doing a little bit difference with these things, and I like it. The kings are awful. The kings are decidedly terrible, but the other ones are mostly doing good. The guards are a little cowardly, but they are being nice to the prince despite the awful kings. So that's, they're not awful themselves. Okay. Yes, if I could get up to the turret. Nevertheless, she presently hit upon a plan. The great clock was in the turret, as she knew, though the weights hung down into the gallery. Taking one of them off the rope, she tied herself on in its place, and when the clock was wound, up she went triumphantly into the turret. She figured out her own elevator. Fun. She looked out over the country the first thing, but seeing nothing, she sat down to rest a little, and accidentally leant back against the wall which Curlicue, or rather Prince Peerless, had so hastily mended. Out fell the broken stone, and with it the golden key. The clatter it made upon the floor attracted the Princess Cabbage Stalk's attention. She picked it up, and after a moment's consideration, decided that it must belong to the curious old cabinet in the corner, which had no visible keyhole. She immediately knew. She's a smart one. I mean, she did get herself up an elevator, so. And then it was not long before it had opened and was admiring. It was not long before she had it open and was admiring the treasures it contained as much as Prince Peerless had done before her. And at last she came to the carbuncle box. No sooner had she opened it than with a shudder of horror she tried to throw it down, but found that some mysterious power compelled her to hold it against her will. And at this moment a voice in her ear said softly, "Take courage, princess, upon this adventure, for your future happiness depends." Woohoo! "What am I to do?" said the princess, trembling. "Take the box," replied the voice, "and hide it under your pillow. And when you see an eagle, give it to him without losing a moment." Terrified as the princess was, she did not hesitate to obey, and hastened to put back all the other precious things precisely as she had found them. By this time her guards were seeking her everywhere, and they were amazed to find her up in the turret, where they said she could only have got there by magic. Or brains, you dumbasses. Okay. For 3 days nothing happened,
But at last, in the middle of the night, the princess heard something flutter against her window, and drawing back her curtains, she saw in the moonlight that it was an eagle. Limping across at her utmost speed, she threw the window open, and the great eagle sailed in, beating with its wings for joy. The princess lost no time in offering it the carbuncle box, which it grasped in its talons and instantly disappeared, leaving in its place the most beautiful prince she had ever seen, who was splendidly dressed and wore a diamond crown. Woohoo! So I think the eagle turned into the prince. This is classic when they say disappear and leaving something in their place. But anyway. Princess, said he, for 200 years has a wicked enchanter kept me here. We both loved the same fairy, but she preferred me. However, he was more powerful than I, and succeeded when, for a moment, I was off my guard, in changing me into an eagle, I called it, while my queen was left in an enchanted sleep. I knew that after 200 years a prince would recall her to the light of day, and a princess, in restoring to me the hand which my enemy had cut off, would give me back my natural form. The fairy who watches over your destiny told me this, and it was she who guided you to the cabinet in the turret, where she had placed my hand. It is she also who permits me to show my gratitude to you by granting whatever favor you may ask me. Tell me, princess, what is it that you wish for most? Shall I make you as beautiful as you deserve to be? Ah, if you only would, cried the princess, and at the same moment she heard a cracking in all her bones. She grew tall and straight and pretty, with eyes like shining stars, and a skin as white as milk. Oh, wonderful! The whiteness thing. You can throw that out, but of course they think that that's beautiful. But anyway, oh, wonderful! Can this really be my poor little self? She exclaimed, looking down in amazement at her tiny, worn-out crutch as it lay upon the floor. Indeed, princess, replied Florimond, it is yourself, but you must have a new name, since the old one does not suit you now. Be called Princess Sunbeam, for you are bright and charming enough to deserve the name. And so saying, he disappeared, and the princess, without knowing how she got there, found herself walking under shady trees by a clear river. Of course, the first thing she did was to look at her own reflection in the water, and she was extremely surprised to find that she was exactly like the shepherdess she had so much admired, and wore the same white dress and flowery wreath that she had seen in the painted windows. To complete the resemblance, her flock of sheep appeared, grazing round her, and she found a gay crook adorned with flowers upon the bank of the river. Quite tired out by so many new and wonderful experiences, the princess sat down to rest at the foot of a tree, and there she fell fast asleep. Now it happened that it was in this very country that Prince Peerless had been set down, of course, and while the Princess Sunbeam was still sleeping peacefully, he came strolling along in search of a shady pasture for his sheep. The moment he caught sight of the princess, he recognized her as the charming shepherdess whose picture he had seen so often in the tower, and as she was far prettier than he had remembered her, he was delighted that chance had led him that way. He was still watching her admiringly when the princess opened her eyes, and as she also recognized him, they were soon great friends. The princess asked Prince Peerless, as he knew the country better than she did, to tell her of some peasant who would give her a lodging, and he said he knew of an old woman whose cottage would be the very place for her. It was so nice and so pretty. So they went there together, and the princess was charmed with the old woman and everything belonging to her. Supper was soon spread for her under a shady tree, and she invited the prince to share the cream and brown bread which the old woman provided. Morning, Death Noah. Hello. Just nearing the end of this story. Well, how far down? Still kind of middle, but okay. Right, she invited the prince to share the bread. This he was delighted to do, and having first fetched from his own garden all the strawberries, cherries, nuts, and flowers he could find, they sat down together and were very merry. After this they met every day as they guarded their flocks, and were so happy that Prince Peerless begged the princess to marry him, so that they might never be parted again. Oh, Henlo. um, Now though the Princess Sunbeam appeared to be only a poor shepherdess, she never forgot that she was a real princess. She was not at all sure that she ought to marry a humble shepherd, though she knew she would like to do so very much. So she resolved to consult an enchanter of whom she had heard a great deal since she had been a shepherdess, and without saying a word to anybody she set out to find the castle in which he lived with his sister, who was a powerful fairy. I'm a little nervous that this is going to be our enchanter that was the bad guy, but okay. Ooh, we're running late. I don't think I'll do that origami just because we're running late. Do. The way was long and lay through a thick wood, where the princess heard strange voices calling to her from every side, but she was in such a hurry that she stopped for nothing, and at last she came to the courtyard of the enchanter's castle. The grass and briars were growing as high as if it were 100 years since anyone had set foot there, but the princess got through at last, though she gave herself a good many scratches by the way, and then she went into a dark, gloomy hall where there was but one tiny hole in the wall through which the daylight could enter. The hangings were all of bats' wings, and from the ceiling hung 12 cats, who filled the hall with their ear-piercing yells. Upon the long table 12 mice were fastened by the tail, and just in front of each one's nose, but quite beyond its reach, lay a tempting morsel of fat bacon. This sounds like an animal hell. I just rejected it and refunded myself. Thank you for that. But okay, we're in an animal hell for whatever reason. This is a terrible place to be. I would not trust this enchanter. So the cats would always see the mice, but not touch them, and the hungry mice were tormented by the sight and smell of delicious morsels which they could never seize. The princess was looking at the poor creatures in dismay when the enchanter suddenly entered, wearing a long black robe, and with a crocodile upon his head. In his hand he carried a whip made of 20 long snakes, all alive and writhing, and the princess was so terrified at the sight that she heartily wished she had never come. Without saying a word she ran to the door, but it was covered with a thick spider's web, and when she broke it she found another and another and another. In fact, there was no end to them. The princess's arms ached with tearing them down, and yet she was no nearer to getting out, and the wicked enchanter behind her laughed maliciously. At last he said, "You might spend the rest of your life over that without doing any good, but as you are young and quite the prettiest creature I have ever seen for a long time, I will marry you if you like, and I will give you those cats and mice that you see there for your own. They are princes and princesses who have happened to offend me. They used to love one another as much as they now hate one another. Aha! It's a pretty little revenge to keep them like that." Ugh. Yeah, I understand. I appreciate that she tried to leave. Oh, if you would only change me into a mouse too, cried the princess. She has already turned down another prince. I don't think she's going to say yes to you, sir. Oh, so you won't marry me, said he. Little simpleton, you should have everything heart can desire. No, indeed, nothing should make me marry you. In fact, I don't think I shall ever love anyone, cried the princess. In that case, said the enchanter, touching her, you had better become a particular kind of creature that is neither fish nor fowl. You shall be light and airy, and as green as the grass you live in. Off with you, Madam Grasshopper. And the princess, rejoicing to find herself free once more, skipped out into the garden, the prettiest little green grasshopper in the world. But as soon as she was safely out, she began to be rather sorry for herself. Ah, Florimond, she sighed, is this the end of your gift? Certainly beauty is short-lived, and this funny little face and green cape dress are a comical end to it. I had better have married my amiable shepherd. It must be for my pride that I am condemned to be a grasshopper, and sing day and night in the grass by this brook, when I feel far more inclined to cry. In the meantime,
Prince Peerless had discovered the princess's absence, and was lamenting over it by the river's brim, when he suddenly became aware of the presence of a little old woman. She was quaintly dressed in a ruff and farthingale, and a velvet hood covered her snow-white hair. "You seem sorrowful, my son," she said. "What is the matter?" This is going to be that enchanter's sister, the fairy, isn't it? Okay. "Alas, mother," answered the prince, "I have lost my sweet shepherdess, but I am determined to find her again, though I should have to traverse the whole world in search of her." "Go that way, my son," said the old woman, pointing towards the path that led to the castle. "I have an idea that you will soon overtake her." The prince thanked her heartily and set out. As he met with no hindrance, he soon reached the enchanted wood which surrounded the castle, and there he thought he saw the Princess Sunbeam gliding before him among the trees. Prince Peerless hastened after her at the top of his speed, but could not get any nearer. Then he called to her, "Sunbeam, my darling, only wait for me a moment." But the phantom did fly the faster, and the prince spent the whole day in this vain pursuit. When night came, he saw the castle before him all lighted up, and as he imagined that the princess must be in it, he made haste to get there too. He entered without difficulty, and in the hall the terrible old fairy met him. She was so thin that the light shone through her, and her eyes glowed like lamps. Her skin was like a shark's, her arms were thin as laths, and her fingers like spindles. Nevertheless, she wore rouge and patches, a mantle of silver brocade, and a crown of diamonds, and her dress was covered with jewels and green and pink ribbons. "At last you have come to see me, Prince," said she. "Don't waste another thought upon that little shepherdess who is unworthy of your notice. I am the Queen of the Comets, and can bring you to great honor if you will marry me." "Marry you, madam?" cried the prince in horror. "No, I will never consent to that." Thereupon the fairy, in a rage, gave 2 strokes of her wand and filled the gallery with horrible goblins, against whom the prince had to fight for his life. Though he had only his dagger, he defended himself so well that he escaped without any harm, and presently the old fairy stopped the fray and asked the prince if he was still of the same mind. When he answered firmly that he was, she called up the appearance of the Princess Sunbeam to the other end of the gallery and said, "You see your beloved there? Take care what you are about, for if you again refuse to marry me, she shall be torn in pieces by 2 tigers." Ooh, that's not even her. Wow. The prince was distracted, for he fancied he heard his dear shepherdess weeping and begging to save her. In despair he cried, "O fairy Dusseline, have you abandoned me after so many promises of friendship? Help us now." Immediately a soft voice said in his ear, "Be firm, happen what may, and seek the golden branch." Thus encouraged, the prince persevered in his refusal, and at length the old fairy, in a fury, cried, "Get out of my sight, obstinate prince. Become a cricket." Woohoo! They're going to be bugs together. Would you love me if I were a bug? I think these 2 will. Okay, nearly done. We're running just a little bit late, but I will finish this story. And instantly the handsome Prince Peerless became a poor little black cricket, whose only idea would have been to find himself a cozy cranny behind some blazing hearth, if he had not luckily remembered the fairy Dusseline's injunction to seek the golden branch. So he hastened to depart from the fatal castle, and sought shelter in a hollow tree, where he found a forlorn-looking grasshopper crouching in a corner, too miserable to sing. There you go. Love Raven if she were a bug. Aw, you'd only have 40% love for me as a bug? Cage. That's rude. I know what you mean. You would love. Thank you. Okay. But he found the grasshopper. Okay. Within the least expecting an answer, the prince asked it, "And where may you be going, Gammer Grasshopper?" "Where are you going yourself, Gaffer Cricket?" replied the grasshopper. "What? Can you speak?" said he. "Why should I not speak as well as you? Isn't a grasshopper as good as a cricket?" said she. "I can talk because I was a prince." "And for that very," said the cricket, "and for that very same reason I ought to be able to talk more than you, for I was a princess," replied the grasshopper. "Then you have met with the same fate as I have," said he. "But where are you going now? Can we not journey together?" "I seemed to hear a voice in the air which said, 'Be firm, happen what may, and seek the golden branch,'" answered the grasshopper, "and I thought the command must be for me, so I started at once, though I don't know the way." At this moment their conversation was interrupted by two mice, who, breathless from running, flung themselves headlong through the hole into the tree, nearly crushing the grasshopper and cricket, though they got out of the way as fast as they could and stood up in a dark corner. "Ah, madam," said the fatter of the two, "I have such a pain in my side from running so fast. How does your highness find yourself?" "I have pulled my tail off," replied the younger mouse, "but as I should still be on the sorcerer's table unless I had, I do not regret it. Are we pursued, think you? How lucky we were to escape." "I only trust that we may escape cats and traps, and reach the golden branch soon," said the fat mouse. "You know the way, then?" said the other. "Yes, very popular tree. Maybe it's a poplar." Hee hee hee. Hee hee. Because that's a type of tree. Anyway, okay. "You know the way, then?" said the other. "Oh dear, yes. As well as the way to my own house, madam. This golden branch is indeed a marvel. A single leaf from it makes one rich forever. It breaks enchantments, and makes all who approach it young and beautiful. We must set out for it at the break of day." Am I popular yet? Okay. "May we have the honor of traveling with you, this respectable cricket and myself?" said the grasshopper, stepping forward. "We also are on a pilgrimage to the golden branch." The mice courteously assented, and after many polite speeches the whole party fell asleep. With the earliest dawn they were on their way, and though the mice were in constant fear of being overtaken or trapped, they reached the golden branch in safety. Huzzah! Now we've got friends. Cool. Is this going to be the other couple as well? Because that would be chaos. How did you turn into mice? You went back to those asshole enchanter and fairies? Dumb move, dudes. But okay. It grew in the midst of a wonderful garden, all the paths of which were strewn with pearls as big as peas. The roses were crimson diamonds with emerald leaves. The pomegranates were garnets. The marigolds, topazes. The daffodils, yellow diamonds. The violets, sapphires. The cornflowers, turquoises. The tulips, amethysts, opals, and diamonds, so that the garden borders blazed like the sun. The golden branch itself had become as tall as a forest tree, and sparkled with ruby cherries to its topmost twig. No sooner had the grasshopper and the cricket touched it than they were restored to their natural forms, and their surprise and joy were great when they recognized each other. So, not their natural forms, but their secondly natural forms, their pretty forms. At this moment Florimond and the fairy Dusseline appeared in great splendor, and the fairy, as she descended from her chariot, said with a smile, "So you two have found one another again, I see, but I have still a surprise left for you. Don't hesitate, princess, to tell your devoted shepherd how dearly you love him, as he is the very prince your father sent you to marry. So come here, both of you, and let me crown you, and we will have the wedding at once." But what happened to the mice? Did they turn into fun? Sounds like it was different, but okay. The prince and princess thanked her with all their hearts, and declared that to her they owed all their happiness. And then the two princesses, who had so lately been mice— oh, there was two more mice, okay, cool— came and begged that the fairy would use her power to release their unhappy friends, who were still under the enchanter's spell. "Really," said the fairy Dusseline, "on this occasion I cannot find it in my heart to refuse you anything." And she gave 3 strokes of her wand upon the golden branch, and immediately all the prisoners in the enchanter's castle found themselves free— I hope that includes the cats— and came with all speed to the wonderful garden, where one touch of the golden branch restored each one to its natural form, and they greeted one another with many rejoicings. Yay! To complete her generous work, the fairy presented them with a wonderful cabinet and all the treasures it contained, which were worth at least 10 kingdoms. But to Prince Peerless and the Princess Sunbeam she gave the palace and garden of the Golden Branch, where, immensely rich and greatly beloved by all their subjects, they lived happily ever after. The end. But I have a little important question. What about their kingdom where they used to live? Their families? Are they concerned? Do they just think that everyone's dead? What's going to happen? Did the guards dress up as the princess when she disappeared too? What's going to happen there? I want to consider the two prince's guards that were like, okay, I guess I'll be the prince. I'll turn me into the hunchback. And then Dad's like, okay, he's dead. After he finds out that he wasn't actually dead. Oh, no, wait, no. They told Dad that he was dead. So then King thinks he's dead, but he doesn't bother worrying about it. He just throws the princess up there. And then, again, one of those guards turns into the princess? Do they just say, and now she's dead too? Or, like, I want to see two different guards pretend to be those two, and then they get married, and it's just like a gay wedding, but they're both pretending to be an ugly royal member. But because I think that would be a heckin' silly time. That kind of stuff happens all the time. That happens all the time for you? I mean, it happens in some stories, but that does not happen all the time for me. I don't know. What a life if that's your life, Scratch Fury. But okay, here we go. We're wrapping up after the stream tonight. All right. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for everyone that followed along. Thank you. Yes, we need a raid target. Nightly VT. Of course, we'll go see Nightly. In their world, I mean. Oh, yeah, I guess probably. It's her first partner stream. Woo! We gotta go congratulate then. Okay. Do-do-do-do. Thing, move, good, haha. Special raid message, okay. What's the raid message? Congrats on partner, congrats on partner. Aww. That's so cute, Pet. Okay. Congrats on partner, congrats on partner. Alright, we're gonna go. Lahonk, stop with the violence. We're being supportive. Put the knife away. Oh, come on. Nightly. Yeah, there you go. Yes, popcorn. Popcorn's better. Thank you for the follow. The Canadianist 12. I'm pretty sure that is... Yeah, there you go. That's my new follower goal. So thank you very much for that. The Canadianist 12. I got 625. Freaking crazy. Okay. There you go. Ooh. Oh, someone's name is Kugler in here. Oh, no. Okay. Thank you for the congrats. Ooh, cute. Thank you for that. Huzzah. Thank you. Ooh, thank you for the love. Okay, so now we're going to raid in. Get those congrats on partner messages ready. We're going to raid over. Say hi to Nightly. I'm giggling at Scrammelope, who we met in a recent thing, is in there. And then someone's name is Kugler. And I think that's very funny. Because that's the name of a person's in a show. So that'd be fun. But okay, here we go. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you next week. Or maybe tomorrow night. I won't be able to do the early stream tomorrow, but maybe tomorrow night. So, okay. I will see you guys soon again. Let's go congrats Nightly. Okay. Do. Rating. Pouty little honk. You pouty little sir.